Saturday Showdown. T1 versus Hanjin Ria.
At the forefront of their aggressive tendencies recently. Had an interview where he was talking about how he feels like LCK teams are like a shield and LPL teams are like a sword. I was asked, well, what do you think HLE is? And he was like, with a sword.
Yes, very different from everyone else, basically. Although KRX tries to do the same thing, but they can't quite do it the same way.
KRX are like a dagger, just repeated, fast attacks, you know, unrelenting. Yeah, so far, just the highest prio bans coming through. Jarvan, the only pick so far that isn't really on the top bans list. And then Ezreal comes through as well, so maybe not wanting to let Lazyfield get his hands on that, a pick he's had some good success on. Then Zhao comes through as the prioed first pick, which is interesting considering Pantheon is available.
Also Hecarim.
Yes. Also Hecarim. But it looks like they might consider other options. We'll see. You could go like Wukong Annie, but I feel like Pantheon's just such a free pickup, and the pick is so strong.
Yeah, Trifecta is right there. Bard as well. Delight had an excellent Bard game.
Yeah, Delight's really playing a lot more range supports, and he was very much the engaged guy, and sometimes struggled on. Again, like I say, struggled. That sounds a bit too critical. I think just was so good on engaged supports that relatively the range supports didn't look as good. But I think he's really been having great games on those range supports, which is important in the current meta. Now, we do see the Inara come in, and I was thinking it could just be the Lulu here. You know, Lulu plus Xin Zhao, really powerful, but instead they go for the Nautilus, wanting some CC, some lockdown, less protection for the Inara, though, and that kind of sets up HLE to go for a bit more of a punishing lane. I think a lot of teams, and I mean, even Goma himself could have gone Jimbard here.
Yeah, that's what I thought he would play.
But instead opting for the Caitlyn, and in fairness, obviously a very formidable Caitlyn, and he has good setup for the traps. Maybe an aspect of it is that with Jhin, you know, into Xin Zhao, there's so much time where you're not doing damage, and Jhin already has so much downtime. Could be the thought process behind it. Either way, it's definitely a 2v2 where they're going to have the absolute edge, unless Andal can land some great dredge lines. So, on the next phase of bans, neither team really put any focus towards solo lane yet. LeBlanc ban comes through, which kind of telegraphs they want to go for like an Azir. We'll see if KRX decide they want to ban that. Yes, they do. I mean, if you really want to just continue the baiting, you could ban like a Nivea, and then they'll ban Ryze.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of mid picks open and available. Annie.
I feel like Annie, he should just play Annie.
Yeah. Annie, Aurora, Akali, all great picks. Oh, they're doing it.
They're doing the thing.
This is when KRX ban Ryze.
And then they pick Annie.
Yeah. And then KRX go Aurora.
Yeah, UCal has had some good Aurora play, even into Annie.
Oh, they banned Yorick instead, so they want Jace. Okay, and I guess they feel confident they can play Cassiopeia into this. Maybe they didn't even want... They're like, wait, guys, we banned the Nivea. Shouldn't we just go Ryze?
I mean, Zeka's been a fantastic Aurora. So if you want comfort and you want what's working, you could go for that. But Ryze, Pantheon...
I feel like you could just go the Jace here for Zeus with the Yorick band. The only thing is, I guess Rich would be happy playing Sion into it. But then if they go the Ryze, you know, if you go Cassiopeia, in the end, they're just going to lock in the Ryze themselves. It's going to be Cassiopeia for UCal. And presumably, you're going for the Jace here for Rich with that Yorick ban. That's what we're expecting. We'll see if he decides something else in the situation. Maybe they want a bit more frontline. But the answer seems to be no. They want the Jace.
Yeah, it was written in the bans, and they will select it. Now, Zeus does have an opportunity to do something crazy here, or he could just play Sion.
There's a lot of DPS on KRX, so they can shred a Sion. But, you know, a Sion is still a Sion. It's still a pretty solid tank. and that ult has a lot of threat. We'll see if Zeus opts to go in a bit of a different direction here, though. Goes for the Vayne.
Alrighty.
So we often see Vayne into picks like Renekton, you know, playing range picks in a melee and just able to keep them at arm's distance. Playing the Vayne into the Jace, pretty different. One thing is at level 6, you have so much all-in potential, chase down with the ultimate. But earlier on, the trading is going to be heavy. And it's going to be a lot around that tumble, using that empowered auto and dodging away from shock blasts. I think a major factor I'm concerned about for the Jace is we've seen Jaces before into Ryze Pantheon. And
they die.
Yeah, and it's specifically this trio of Ryze, Pantheon, Bard that are just like the perma roamers. So I fully expect to see them moving around the map, setting up plays, and just facilitating and shutting down KRX.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what we should expect. And I think if you're KRX, you should say, okay. Like, if you're the coaching staff, you say, okay, we have a very strong draft in itself. We have the ability, especially later on with Cassio and Lunara, to play a mid to late game that's extremely strong, tons of DPS, a solid front line with the Xinjiao. And we just got to worry about the early roaming and the aggression and everything that Humble Life Esports is known for. So very much playing another HLE draft, and we'll see if it works out for them this time. Here we go, game number 1 on the cards. Match 36 already.
That's crazy. To already be at 36.
Yep.
Okay, some early harass coming out. And you see the ward placement. One ward cleared out by Delight, but we have that ward there. Given some information on Kanavi. I think it's going to be important to track him. Pantheon in general, able to be aggressive early. And if he gets ahead, he can just run the game. Kanavi in general, very aggressive.
Yeah.
Zeus going the grasp as well, so can kind of just play around that. Rich having the electrocute, so a lot more bursty. Also exhaust on Zeus too, so in terms of all-ins, especially at level 6, I'm really worried for Rich. If he starts falling behind, could be a tough time.
Yeah, especially because Jace in the trade is very burst focused and Zeus has exhaust, so it's like, even if you do try to go in and like one-shot the Vayne, you're going to be in some trouble anyway. This level 2 is hit here, but not able to put on too much pressure. Ondil and LazyField playing very respectfully. Really, we just want to see LazyField not get too far behind in CS. That's been the biggest issue.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of instances where LazyField's just been shut out the game and unable to play, and the team has suffered as a result, understandably. And a lot of times it has kind of come down to how drafters set him up. I don't think this draft has really done him any favors, right? Playing into Caitlyn Bard with her Nautilus as your support. But it's also not the end of the world. And there is good gang setup, right, if Willa can make his way down there.
Even going to land a hook here. Bit of damage into the line, forces the heal to come out after the Slurkle.
Yeah, good trade there. The light chunked, summon it down. He's pretty low on mana as well. Both junglers are close to the bot lane if they want to try and play for something.
Bit of running around here from the two supports. Ondil's trying to get some vision and try to posture here for the Scuttle Crab for Willer. Might just be able to. Kanavi, of course, is looking to just get aggressive, but I think he's just crossing and going to the top Scuttle, which is definitely the right call, especially as Delight backs away.
Ondil actually moving over here. With Willa to back him up. Like, he's still going, by the way. They spot Kanavi?
He got the Scuttle Crab, guys. he got it and he got out. There's not really much you can do.
I guess they don't lose anything massive on the bot lane. LazyField gets a call here. And we'll be back in lane to pick up this wave. So kind of had the timing to do so, but really extended roam there from the side of KRX. I think, honestly, the team who can impact top lane the first is really going to set this game in motion.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of threat that HLE have is trying to hit that hook. Nice try. But yeah, the amount of damage and threat they have as this game comes along, like when Vayne gets a couple of items, when Ryze gets his actualizer, and when Caitlyn gets through the trough, how do you deal with all of that damage, I do wonder, as a nice flash forced here in the mid lane by Delight.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, Willa has his ult to kind of, temporarily be a solid front line. But outside of that, both Willa and Andal will just kind of get melted. And they didn't opt to go for like a tankier front line in the top lane. Obviously, telegraphed they were going for that Jason and committed to it. But it will be a lot of explosive damage from HLE later in the game.
Yeah, maybe part of the reason why is just because that tank would kind of get shredded, especially by the Vayne, and maybe they just want to fight fire with fire, bringing in a third threat of their own that can maybe burst down some of these threats as the game does come along. There's been a lot of movement around this bottom river.
Andal's been pretty constantly fishing for opportunities, but I mean, it's given a lot of solo XP to Lazyfield, but Andal is like a whole level down compared to Delight. So, not ideal for the 2v2. Obviously, getting that Nautilus up to level 6 is a big factor. So far, though, pretty quiet how this game has played out. We do see Kanavi moving in towards the bot lane.
Yeah, he just loves to gank the bot lane, generally earlier than this, but he's been here multiple times besides that. He's here once again. Maybe trying to fight for the scuttle. As you oftentimes do. This would be level 6 for both of the junglers if they get them. Get the scuttle, that is. That ward is going to stay alive.
I was convinced that Andal would just go in there.
Oh, we got mid laners coming over as well. And it looks like Willer's just going to get it, so.
I think the risk with going in that situation is that if you hit Pantheon, he's gonna eat all that damage with his Aegis and just tank it up. Willa gets his level 6 with the Scuttle Crab, so he's now a much more relevant threat in these skirmishes, being able to soak up a ton of damage. We nearly had action, and honestly, a bit of growth from KRX. I remember they were the team who would just fight over the early Scuttle and die for it. That was their character trait.
It's not a good one to have.
No.
Yeah, it was a bit of an issue for them. I really like how they approached it. Respectfully. They didn't just kind of throw all their stuff in and say, this is really important, so we really need to fight for this. Yes, it is very important, but there's a good approach that you can take, and they did take it. Unfortunately, not able to utilize it much. Nice little burst from Rich onto Zeus, but...
Okay, my concern, Ryze has mid-prio, Pantheon has ult. That wave is starting to push in, but they opt not to go for play top lane. But every time I see Zeka move from mid and Kanavi on the top side of the map, I'm instantly thinking, is Rich dead? So far, the answer is no. And we do see Kanavi pathing towards the bot side, so maybe he's going to live to lane another day.
See, oftentimes, Cassiopeia picked into Ryze. Nowadays, we've been seeing a lot more Anivia, but obviously it was banned in this game.
I feel like the lane matchup isn't as much as the reason you pick the Cassiopeia. We have seen some Cassiopeias really hard win the lane, but it hasn't been a consistent thing. I mean, even like last series, we had Ryze winning against Anivia.
Yeah. Going in on the UCal here, we got a Pantheon in the mix, but guess who's here as well? It's Willer. Zeka pretty low, and Kanavi also going to have to flash out of this one. Does pick up some T off of the ground, enables him to survive just a little bit and get that speed boost.
I think Andal interrupted Kanavi's stun with his dredge line there, which was very valuable at saving his mid laner. Zeka going for the aggressive play, not able to punish UCal there though, even with the backup. And it's a lot committed, right? A lot of flashes for the mid jungle of HLE, and they're still looking for more.
Yeah, I mean, Kanavi no flash here. Like, he gets the blue buff, but I don't know if he's getting away from this one. The Bard's stun not going to land, but the trap is there. That's first blood for Cassio, but trying to turn it around. Zeka, super low, does a bit to Willer, and now it's up to Guma against the two of them. The flash stun from Delight gets them one, but now they immediately have to disengage in a crazy fight in the jungle.
Yeah, Zeka realm warping in at such low HP, just didn't really see how that was going to work out, and they just lost those flashes on mid-jungle. So Kanavi and Zeka were kind of sitting ducks. The start of this, Kanavi's already so low. One issue, though, is that Lazy Field is so far away when they start this, but Kanavi is kind of just doomed from the offset. The Tempered Fate buys time and allows him to set up onto the Nautilus. Then Zeka realm warps in at like 20% HP and just dies. Delight and Guma playing it well to get this kill and disengage. And this is when Lazyfield turns up and Guma knows that he has to leave. But chaotic, I think, is definitely the way I would describe that. Some interesting decisions.
Yeah. I don't mind that play from Kiyoom going very aggressively deep, just knowing the status of all the health bars, the fact that Willer was very healthy compared to Kanavi, even though ults were down. But it was good on HLE to be able to trade it back essentially evenly. Kiyoom does have a very small gold lead. A lot of that in the mid lane, actually. Whereas Delight's got some money. So we'll see how he utilizes that. Willer does come up here and get the grubs. Dragon's still on the map, even though it's just a Chemtech dragon.
I think the thing that amazes me is that we haven't seen any kills or really ganks top lane.
No diving at all.
Yeah, I fully anticipated that would be HLE's game plan. Would just be dive top on repeat. And so far, nothing. I do think one way that Riot is trying to balance some of these champions with like semi-global or global ultimates is give them a really long cooldown. So if you end up having to play on the bot side, that doesn't work out. You know, you're sitting on that cooldown for such a long time, and it kind of means Rich can just play top lane 1v1 for a while as a result.
Yeah, you see that Kanavi's ult is only coming up now.
Yeah, it's coming up now. He's walking top. If Rich jumps, he's flashless, by the way. If he jumps in to melee form, he is dead.
They're just sending it. That's not going to work. Rich fast enough.
Yeah, I think he has to actually be either far up the lane or like actively jump in. If you just... That was ambitious, you know? And that should be Dragon for KRX.
I mean, a ping on a Kanavi as he's trying to spear Rich to stop his back and everything. As he does have Smite. So that's going to be the first straight going over to KRX. Zeus might be able to get another plate as they're looking for Lazy Field here. That stun not quite going to land, but they're going to throw the Tempered Fate in. There's the trap. And I think this should be enough damage with the net, but the net gets blocked. Oh, but the barrier goes down perfectly. Timinged by Guma as he does pick up the kill.
So good, the timing. Trap is perfect. Peacemaker's perfect. The minions do end up blocking the net, unfortunately, but the barrier is early for Lazyfield and Guma. I honestly thought that ult might be a little bit early on that barrier, but I guess it just goes to show I don't know Caitlyn as well as Guma does, which I think is a bit of a no-brainer. Yeah, that minion pathing over. I mean, that's just perfect timing.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. So, nice pickup there. Already, this Caitlyn getting a bit of an advantage in between the two of them. 1,200 gold up, and Delight buys an early locket, which is a pretty solid buy for early impact. Just that shielding on demand in a skirmish can go a long way.
I feel like Delight's always been kind of a early locket buying enjoyer.
He did slightly buff the value a few patches ago of like an early locket. A little bit more shielding early. Just to entice people to buy it again. Delight, I guess, needed no such enticing. Locket enjoyer from the start. Oh.
Trying to take down Zeka here. He's in a lot of trouble with that miasma. Eventually it does time out and he is able to flash, but Ghost and flashed. And also super low on health. So UCal having a fun time now in the mid lane.
It's just so frustrating playing as an immobile champion into Nautilus Cassiopeia. and you get CC chained on the miasma, and you can't flash out. KRX playing very aggressive on the back of the fact that they've chunked out the enemy mid.
Kind of just walking past the Cassiopeia, but it is Pantheon and Bard. Top lane, I mean, Zeus hasn't been bullied at all just because the top lane has been mostly ignored, so just naturally getting a pretty solid lead here.
Yeah, he's in a good spot right now as Vayne. And it just feels like Riches have to farm from a distance because of the threat, not only of the Vayne, but the Pantheon as well. Kind of understands if you walk up past a certain point, you are just dead. There is no real counterplay to that.
It's like, oh, he's right there. Gonna place a ward. Guma's by himself in mid. Gonna just pick up 2 plates casually. Feels pretty good about that. And yeah, HLE just kind of hanging out, and you know, they have their Caitlyn ahead. Zeka isn't that far behind, and obviously Zeus is doing well. So maybe they just say, I mean, we have great scaling. Let's just sit back and, you know, we don't have to do anything crazy, which is incredible to see this amount of restraint.
Not the
no
HLE we expected.
I had no idea they could do this.
I feel like we've been just talking endlessly about their aggression of following Kanavi in, and then they have a game like this where it's just like very slower paced, very much slower paced, and like trying to accrue minor advantages. As you said, not what we expected.
Maybe watched a few too many KT games, because this kind of just looks like KT.
I don't know, KT's last series, maybe they swapped. If we look at last series,
yeah,
there's definitely a lot more explosive from KT. Do you have Dragon in a minute? Second of the game, and HLE don't have one yet, so I feel like setting up for that pretty important. Already, KRX have moved in. Got a decent vision line, they're gonna get the scuttle as well. I think for HLE, they have a lot of ways to kind of like circumvent getting around a team, but for how that comp wants to function, I think getting the Kate set up with the traps is pretty important. It's quite hard to approach into KRX's composition, but I think it kind of goes both ways. It's like, there's no one who's that good at sort of like pushing forward into the enemy team's space, because no one's that tanky, and there's a lot of things that are just horrible to walk into.
Yeah.
You know, if you walk into traps, kind of nightmarish. For KRX, I mean, Miasma, Nautilus, all these things. So I think once a team has space, it might be a little bit difficult to make your way in.
Yeah, which is really gonna up the value on getting vision down early. And really, it's just been Kium who has been doing that. Life Esports, I mean, Delight is backing, and Kanavi is top lane. So, I mean, maybe they want to kill a Jace instead, or maybe they want to get the Rift Herald, but they don't seem to care about the Dragon.
Yeah, just giving it up, which is, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just a pretty bold choice. Depending on the soul, it kind of really influences whether it's good or bad. Comes in.
He's TPing into a little bit of a dangerous spot. They could just rotate over and dive in.
They could do it really fast with Realm Warp, but the wave is gone, so I think they'll maybe think twice.
I mean, Rich is just kind of hanging out, asking for it almost, and maybe a little bit too obvious. Is Life Esports, they get the TP and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, he was just kind of baiting it.
Yeah.
His team was behind him.
KRX ready for that one, and then HLE not overcommitting, not making the rushed play.
Insane.
Again, didn't have a wave set up as well, so that a dive would have been tricky. Definitely doable if it was just Rich, but obviously wasn't at that point.
Nice ward from you, Cal. He had an inkling that perhaps people were hiding in the bush.
A lot of focus from HLE has just been around trying to set up for this top lane.
We got Willer here, so... he's taking a bunch of damage, though. It's another nice shot into the turret. Looks like they really want to pick up this first turret.
Yeah, Rich is trying to match on the other side, but is way behind. This turret is just like an auto away. And Zeka's going to move up and pick it up. So eventually, the accrued efforts of all that time from HLE will pay off. And it definitely took them a while. Mountain Soul is the soul, by the way. So pretty big one by either side. Just the extra shielding. especially when it is these squishier teams. And obviously Mountain Soul does really well with tanks, but giving that extra effective HP to a squishy champ does go a long way.
Yeah. A little bit of an issue for HLE, though. It'll take them a while to pick it up. And just kind of like the discussion we had in the KT series up against BNK KRX. We saw a very late Mountain Soul come in. Has a little bit less value, but still going to feel good. Delight is he's playing Bard. He's getting in there. He's trying to put down some deep vision. He's trying to support Zeus and allow him to play aggressively. And he's going to do exactly that, as now Ondil very much caught here. He's going to try to flash, but he's already locked up by the binding. Just throws out the depth charge for some reason, just going to die. And now Rich, not very long for this world either, as that's just 2 free kills given over to HLE.
So this is what we're kind of looking for from this HLE composition. It took a while for them to really engage with it, but the Bard, Ryze, Pantheon playing through the Vayne. I mean, it can be the Vayne or the Caitlyn, but just playing through one of the side lanes with this trio, so effective. And that's what they look to secure here. So they move in, they catch the Nautilus. You can see the Dredge Light comes out from Andal, but it's a little bit panicked. He throws it out and misses terrain, and then they just jump on him, take him out. And then here, the Realm Warp to block the Jace, to block Rich, and Delight even lockets himself. He's the one with aggro, so very low chance of him going down.
Yeah, and what was a pretty even game state turns into a nice little lead here for the side of Homa Life Esports. Delight with these aggressive tempered fates has been finding pick after pick. Ondil, remember, he flashed, even though he did die the last time around, so he's got to be very careful. No aftershock on this Nautilus. As now the Rift Trail just going to be dropped into mid. And KRX are kind of posturing for it, but not really able to get much out of this, as Zeka looks like he was having fun there. The Miasma comes down, but not much value as Kanavi just puts up a shield.
Both teams very focused on this mid lane tower. And now moving up towards the top river, getting this Scuttle Crab. I mean, KRX are trying to chase them, but it's into a Bard, so... They want to fight. I think that's clear. The intent is there. Just unfortunately, HLE not opting into it. And I say that. Okay, double ult thrown down to look for a pick. Doesn't connect. Willa flashing out of that one. And Willa flash being down, you know, that's something. Obviously a long cooldown on flash. But Delight and Kanavi both burn ultimates in trade. And the Dragon's up in 30 seconds. So none of those are going to be up for the Dragon. And like, what do you rank higher, like Willa's flash or both of those ultimates? That's the thing, is obviously the flash is a longer cooldown, but when it comes to specific next Dragon fight, it doesn't really matter as much. We do see some item pickups coming in. Black Cleave of both junglers secured. Both AD carries pretty far along in their builds, 2.5 items. And both mid laners have their Rod of Ages completed and kind of that core done, so... Like, it is HLE with the lead, but I think KRX have some decent strength behind them. If you actually look, like 1,000 of the lead is between the supports.
Yeah, it's really funny how Delight has just been in more of the action, picking up a lot of assists. Willer, they're trying to bait out a Crescent Guard early. A lot of trading back and forth. Lazyfield has to be careful about that as the flash binding going to catch 2 to 0 follow-up. Just a little bit ahead of the play there was Delight. Mechanics-wise was nice, but it doesn't really amount to too much. And now they're going to find Kanavi here as everything in the kitchen sink is thrown into the Pantheon. And that's what you are dealing with this Cassio and Nautilus, as they will lock down one target and not allow them to leave. So now no jungler here for HLE. KRX, they do want to start up this Dragon, but they're a little bit low on some of their members, especially Ondil.
Yeah, I think they're just so cautious.
I mean, okay, we're gonna
comes down.
Try to lock down Willer, but at the end of the day, Zeus trying to take a 1v1 against Rich. The exhaust doing a lot of work there, as Rich should be going down. Ondil as well. Super low, trying to give his life here for the Dragon, and they do get it. And now KRX really just tasked with trying to get away, and it looks like they will.
Okay, I feel like they were so cautious there, just very much respecting, even with HLE not having a jungler, even with the chance of stealing the objective being low, the threat of the remaining carries. And this play here, so Andal lands the Dredge Line on Pantheon, and there's just not a ton you can do to save him when the Miasma comes through. This Nautilus Cassiopeia combo, kind of a frustration to deal with. And then in this ensuing play, even though Zeus does find this solo kill
They're
off
just
the
doing
side.
that, by the way.
Oh. Yeah.
They're just doing it. They're like, okay, we just do it. They do have a nice trap set up, but that is Xinjiao. So he could technically just run in, but he is going to be pushed away and not really able to get into the pit at all, actually. And now going to throw up the Crescent Guard as Kanavi does go down once again, but no answer here for Zeus as they don't quite have the cooldowns. 5 seconds away from the Nautilus death charge as Andal's certainly thinking about it now. And the hook is just barely going to miss as Rich was coming in and they wanted to try to re-engage.
It's crazy that just worked, apparently. They just said, yeah, let's send Baron. The thing is, if you look at the Red Bull Baron power play, it's plus 150 gold. It's not a ton yet. It's still a big pickup, don't get me wrong. Still positive for HLE to get this. There hasn't shifted the tides of the game yet. We see here that having the setup, having the traps, and the Condemn to keep Willa away out the pit, very frustrating. Kanavi then jumps in and just dies. Everyone is low on KRX, but chasing into the Cassiopeia is just such a danger that they have to respect. Now, I'm really looking as that Red Bull Baron power play has gone negative. I'm waiting to see, can they get some gold on the back of this? I'm looking at those inner towers that are available, see if they can siege those. They have a Caitlyn, right? Pretty good for sieging. Some damage on the tower there at least.
Might as well siege a little bit as much as you possibly can. Still strong as a 5, even though, again, majority of the gold lead is on Delight. So he's looking for a second item here. Trying to lock down UCal, but even he was able to just slither his way out of that one. And that's really kind of been the setup for HLE, where they try to land an offensive Tempered Fate, and if they don't catch anyone, they do not commit.
Rapid Fire picked up there for Uma, and I think should have Actualizer soon for Zeka. Level 16 hit as well, so big spikes for the Rise. HLE, the gold difference isn't massive, but I feel like they're hitting their stride in terms of the power achieved. And they really need to be, because even though they got a gold lead, they had that Baron, which the power play is still negative, by the way, for now. But they're down 3 dragons. And I don't think Soul is really on the cards for them this game. It's going to take so long.
Yeah.
But denying the dragons, denying the Soul from KRX definitely needs to be a focus. I think baiting them into a fight around it could be a big thing. This is the dangerous part of the game. Like a minute before, 2 minutes, minute 45 before the objective. This is when teams are down just to throw down to try and burn summoners or something more. So KRX just kind of need to hold strong, clear waves, and not give away any big advantages.
Little bit of a struggle for Rich so far. He can't 1v1 the Vayne, and he can't 1v1 the Rise. So whatever lane he's in the quote-unquote side lane, he's just kind of getting bullied. Like, he's just being pushed in here, and now LazyFeel is going to try to come over, but you're getting actualized to death right now as down he goes to bounce. Way too much damage, and LazyFeel as well nearly loses his life. And just like that, mid lane's broken open, and bottom lane is broken open.
Well, that's a pretty crazy amount of damage from the Rise. I know we shouldn't be surprised at this point. We've seen Actualize the Rise before, but every time it's just kind of mind-blowing how much he's able to do. Rich goes down. LazyFeel has to burn Flash as well, which is a huge hit for HLE. Huge hit for KRX. Huge boon for HLE. Looking into this next fight for the Dragon, I feel like you can just focus on going for the Shunara. Delight could even, like early on, if you ult LazyFeel and he has to ult out of it,
they're just sending it. The Jace is dead. The TP now will eventually come in as Zeka does go golden himself, but Kanavi is 1v1ing at your AD carry. As down will go Zeka, though, so that's a lot of damage out, but they still have 280 carries. It's Zeus and Guma just running them down as they try to jump into Zeus, but immediately Exhaust comes out as there's the stun on the UCal as well. He's just down, and it is a total wipe. HLE destroy him in the bottom lane.
That Kanavi just jumps on a lazy field. No flash, no easy way to get away, and he's soloed out. And even though Zeka ends up going down, Zeus and Guma are there for the cleanup. Also a great little stun towards the end from Delight just to make sure that Cassiopeia couldn't do anything too crazy. HLE getting a big fight win. They'll be able to secure the dragon and get some damage on the base here.
Yeah, let's watch this again.
Just seeing the numbers come up it's insane.
Just said no flash.
Yeah,
on
no
Unara.
kidding. And you know, that no flash being burned just means Kanavi can just slide in and do this. One of the things we talked about in draft was going for the Nautilus instead of the Lulu, not having the extra peel for Unara. And I think Laserfield is feeling that right now. We see on the other side of the fight, the Nautilus just gets obliterated. So much damage from HLE onto frontliners, Willer as well, and then that great stun from Delight just to make sure Cassiopeia can clean up.
UCal spent the whole fight stunned. He got condemned into the wall first, and then Delight flash found him. Not a fun time. UCal still has flash. I mean, there was not a good time to use it in the last fight, so understandable.
LDR picked up by Uenishi as well, so his damage is really online at this point. I think, you know, Caitlyn, 4 items is when it just feels, especially when you got 4 items with IE LDR, that's when you're really pumping the damage.
Yeah. So maybe this is why HLE were playing so laid back in the early to mid game, because they just said, well, we don't need to play aggressively this time. Very strange. As going in once again is Kanavi on the lazy field, who does not get to play the game. And the Temper Fate comes in, saves Kanavi for now, but the Miasma is down. And yes, you'll eventually kill the Pantheon, but what about the rest of the team? Zeka, nice little dodge there. And the chase is on. As this is not, oh.
Wow.
Yeah, he saw him, and that was the end of it. Now Zeus says, well, or rather Zeka says, I'll just tank all this damage, and that'll be the end of those two. As that should do it, even if they don't end the game right now.
Yeah, they're kind of deliberating. Looks like they're going to go for Baron instead. But this was not a great fight for KRX. Started off with them kind of getting poked a bit, but then opting into it. Laserfield ends up chunked out so heavily at the start. Again, Kanavi is just like heat-seeking towards him. But even though Kanavi goes down, Zeke manages to explode Rich, dodges the Petrifying Gaze. Great work there. And then Laserfield, oh man. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Good stun as well from Delight. It's been pretty on point this game on the Bard.
Yeah. Feels like Delight saw the other great supports that are playing Bard to a high level, and he's like, yeah, I could do that.
You know what it is?
And he is.
People are like, you know, you can engage with Tempered Fate. And he's like, an engage support?
Yeah.
I'm in.
He's been doing that all game. The flash bindings as well.
That's how you pitch it, right? You just pitch Lulu as an engage support. Just flash wild growth yourself.
I feel like he has done that before. He's also done this.
So have you heard of this concept called a caster curse?
Yes. Yes, I have. They are real.
Yeah, I know.
Now House is gone. It's an accepted fact. As now we're getting in onto UCal. This time the Petrifying Gaze is going to land, but it's not really going to help all that much. Zeka once again does go golden, and Zeus unaccounted for. They might eventually take down the Rise, but the damage is already done. And again, they do not have the answer for the 280 carries that are left over after they finally chewed through the Rise.
He spawned in a trap and dead. 808 for Kumishi, 509 for Zeus. Both of them yet to die this game. Yeah, pretty smooth sailing when you have 280 carries like this. HLE going to close this one out. 3 dragons for KRX, but they never got the soul.
At the end of the day, they just got ahead, and that's going to be number 300 for Mr. Zeus.
Yeah, huge achievement, only behind Keen and Doran, who do have a pretty massive number themselves, but you can see behind them, Smeb and Rascal won't be picking up. And you can see, again, slow burn and then just that quick ramp up in the mid game where HLE took over. We've seen, based on the stats, HLE tend to have a massive early lead, so this wasn't the most typical HLE game we've had within the regular season, but it did kind of end the same.
바텀 많이 커.
바텀
나 살짝 물리면 하겠다.
봐도 중.
죽어도 돼. 죽어도 돼. 내 천천히 봐줘. 여기 나오면 쌍가 보자 여기.
맞게. 내 위치 봐.
다시 여기 노플.
좀.
야 신짜 프렌. 아 오케이. 다시 못 봐 이거?
가자.
다시 노플. 아 인정. 데이스텔. 다시 노플이야.
많이 멀다.
데이스. 유나라 이 빠졌다.
천천히 가.
좋아. 판테온이 딜라인 잡았다. 유나라 노플.
깔아줘.
마드가 좋아.